Good morning, everybody. My name is Jade Alberts, the founder of Peer Guidance. We listen, guide, and connect small businesses, startup, and entrepreneurs. Sharing knowledge and stories is why I started the Telling It Like It Is Facebook Live show. It is live. If you do have any questions, please reach out. If you're watching this on a social media platform after the fact, shoot your question there. We'll get answered. I'd like to thank Evolutionize for sponsoring today's chat. They are Alberta's mobile optometry clinic, a traditional optometry clinic, but they bring their 40-foot Winnebago to you. Today's Telling It Like It Is guest is Alfie Oliver, the program director at VCAD. Alfie, thank you for joining me, and how are you today?
I'm great. Thank you again for having me. This is kind of my first online interview, so I'm really excited to do this.
Well, I get that. The funny thing is I get that a lot. People are like, oh yeah, I've done interviews, I've done podcasts, but I've never done anything live. So everyone says, oh, I'm so nervous, but realistically, it's just the same conversation with a camera in front of you.
Yeah, when you're like, oh, it's going to be live. I'm like, so I got to nail it the first try. Okay, so like stage performance. Okay, we'll give that a go. So.
Yeah, exactly. You just have to wear clothes. That's the only difference. At least top clothes. You're at school, so you're probably fully dressed.
Yes.
No, I like one of the things I like talking about before we get going is how we met. And I was at a Community Now event, and you guys were promoting the Visual College of Art and Design, and at this event, and I met a couple of your colleagues, and they said that we should talk. And I came down to the school, and you gave me a beautiful tour. I can't believe how the amount of stuff that you had in there, and it was just awesome. And my expectations were blown away, and we had a really good conversation, and here we are.
Yes, it's a beautiful school, and they did a really good job with bringing it up from Vancouver and opening this campus. They really want to design something really nice here. So.
Oh, it is awesome, and anybody that wants to stop down, I'm sure that you would love to give them a tour. I mean, it is just gorgeous, and I'm sure it's just hopping now with students in it. It'd be just electric.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when we met in the fall, we were around 50 students, and now we're up to 150 plus. So we pretty much tripled in size in that time. And so if anybody wants to come down, our address is 1035 7th Ave, Southwest.
Perfect. That's awesome. If you guys, and again, you can just click on the comment section, go to their website, vcad.ca, and away you go. So I'll give a brief introduction to Alfie, and away we go. So Alfie earned a diploma from SAIT, a Bachelor's of Commerce from the University of Victoria, and a Master's of Education from the U of C. In addition to his education, he has over 20 years of professional service, including 14 years in the business sector, the past 6 years as post-secondary education, both as an educator and manager. His areas of expertise include operations, finance, marketing, management consulting, service management, education, and leadership. He is currently the campus director for the Visual College of Arts and Design at the Calgary's campus. And one of the things that that intrigued me the most about you is that you were a successful entrepreneur before going into the education side. You started with SAIT and now with VCAD. So I know VCAD is new to Calgary. So please share why you jumped into the education and why they opened in Calgary.
Yeah, well, I got into education because my wife is a teacher. She's an educator, and our wives tend to know us better than we know ourselves. And she said the only I really got a kick out when I was in industry was like the consulting, because it was coaching, it was mentoring. I would always bring on co-op students. I would always work with new graduates. And so she says, you're an educator. You just haven't realized it yet. And so when I went to SAIT, that really landed for me. And then moving over to Visual College of Art and Design this past summer, they just opened a new campus in May here in Calgary. Now, in Vancouver, which has been around for years, a lot of the students were coming from Calgary. Calgary was a big draw to the Vancouver campus. And so much so that they decided to open a campus here in Calgary because, especially with the current economy being what it is and oil and gas being what it is, there's this real demand and change for a need for art and design professionals in the Calgary market. And being here in Calgary now, our students can connect with local Calgary businesses in the community and work with them. So you're not just getting an education in Vancouver and working with them and then coming back here and not having a connection. Now they're actually able to make that connection here. our students love it. They get to go on a lot of field trips. They get to meet a lot of vendors. They get to meet a lot of suppliers, professionals in the industry and stuff too. So it really helps solidify that kind of bridging that gap between theory and practice by actually getting to meet and work together with the community. And there is a real need. There's a change in the Calgary market and a demand for art and technology design professionals. And we're starting to see that now. We're starting to see more video game companies coming into town, more art and design communities, just the change of the industry itself and the shape of the industry. And so being local here, having graduates that come out of a program that's local here allows them to find jobs, and rather than us lose all of our great grads to other provinces, we're trying to bring them back in here and create a home-based, or Alberta-based market where people really believe in the province and believe in the industry and grow it from within.
No, and that's such a valid point. I mean, I know I've been involved in that, and the tech industry is growing, and we'd like to grow it more. But I mean, the entrepreneurial community is really thriving in the city, and for someone to not have to leave and spend more money and maybe they save it up for something that they can invest in the community is such a I guess what's the word I'm looking for, is such a benefit to the city of Calgary.
Yeah.
So I know you offer many different courses that offer many in different industries. So please share some of the courses and industries that you guys dabble in.
Sure. So for Alberta campus, we currently have 5 programs that we offer. So we offer an architectural design technology program, interior design, graphic design, 3D modeling, animation, art and design, and marketing, merchandising for fashion. And we chose these 5 particular when we came here because as a college, we have to be able to prove to the Ministry of Education here in Alberta that these programs are sustainable and viable for graduates in the work field. So we have additional programs in Vancouver, such as fashion design and game design. We didn't bring those here yet because we still want to see how the market's growing in Alberta. But those 5 programs that we have now, there's proven stats that graduates from these programs have a viability in the employable market. And what we want to bring into the programs here is something that allows students to be career ready. And so we really give them skills today that they can use immediately tomorrow in the workforce. And many of our students are actually starting their own business. I have one student who's in my office yesterday, and we're talking about her brand, that she's building her brand as a marketer and stuff. And so she's really trying to build this brand in her program, and she's starting to launch that. We've got graphic design students who are already freelancing work and stuff like that. We've got others who are in one area of the industry and are coming back to school now to kind of complement that. Like we've had architectural designers who are now coming into interior design so they can do both the building design and the interior design elements of that. So rather than having to hire somebody else to do the interior element, they can do both sides of it, charge more for that too. But it's a good way for them to do it. And industry is looking for that. And meeting with our advisory committee members and stuff, a lot of them look at for grads who have the technical skills, good technical skills, and good work competency. Like they have a good work ethic. They try hard. They come early. They give it their all, right? And they're able to be multifaceted. It's not just being specialized in one area. They can do an entire portfolio and create that for a client. And having that technical skill, because a lot of managers are like, well, I'm just not that tech savvy. I need grads who can do that for me. And so we're teaching these technology skills as well as these competencies that allow them to be ready to hit the market tomorrow.
I think that's such a valid point. I mean, that's kind of one of the reasons why I started Peer Guidance. You're seeing a people, small businesses, startups, these entrepreneurs need many, advice about many different things. And instead of, like you said, saying, go talk to this person, you know what? It's kind of like a one-stop shop where you're able to help. They know they're getting good advice. They know they're getting the right advice. You don't have to invest a whole bunch of more money where you really lose control. And obviously, that kind of rolls into my next question is money is always tight with startups. And you mentioned that you have people doing freelances. So I know you obviously train students that can, go work into the workplace, whether it be small businesses and that. But I mean, you're able to help that person that you said that wants to start her own brand, and other students can work together, and you can and help other businesses in Calgary. So share that story a little bit with us.
Yeah, so there's kind of really two sides to that too. Like on the one side, we have students who have to create a portfolio as part of their final semester. And so it's this, anytime a student can create something that's relevant and real in a local market, it helps give them something that's tangible, something they can be super proud of, because they can see it. They're like, oh, you see that billboard over there? I helped create that for this company. And it's something now that becomes real for them, and something they can be proud of. But it also grounds it in realism. If it's theoretical, your boundaries are limitless. But as we know, working with clients, there's always a real constraint. There's a budget, there's a time, there's resource constraints. And so working with that towards their portfolio, it gives the students a chance to work on a real project with real constraints. It gives the client that they're working with a chance to mentor students, but also to potentially get something that maybe they couldn't afford somebody else to do, but they can hire a student to do that because a student is getting the trade-off of the education and the experience side as well. And so there's that element there. There's the education side. And then the flip side of that is, yes, if you have students coming here who want to build their own brand and just can't afford to start up, something, or they want to start something up themselves. If they come to school, there's an opportunity for them to come to school. Like we have students who come here because it's like, well, the market's a little tough right now to get into. I need a little bit more education. I can come to school. I can get a diploma. I can start my own brand after that. But by being in school, I can get student loans and everything else. So that helps me just pay for schooling and everything. But by doing that, I'm learning a skill rather than paying somebody else to do it. And then they can do a lot of the work themselves. So we're seeing a lot of students who are, like I said, either complementing a previous skill by expanding that, or they're just, I want to start my own brand, but I don't really know where to start, and I need some education for that. And rather than paying lots and lots of money to another consultant to do it, I can eventually become that consultant. So having their own brand and then also being able to market that to another audience as well.
No, and I think that's such a valuable point that you made, being able to come in, not spend a lot of money, but learn something. I mean, continuous learning, as you know, is something. Even I learn something new every day. I mean, I'll learn something new when I go for my lunch today that I didn't know, and it's such an important thing. And helping businesses and being able to learn a new skill and add that on to the repertoire that you already have is priceless. So that's. And I mean, I'm going on memory here, but I like when we had our chat in the fall there, like your placement rate is off the charts if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, so in our Vancouver, our job placement rates, like in Calgary, we don't have any grads yet.
Yeah.
So we're working off the Vancouver numbers, but we're hoping this fall and December when our grads start graduating, they'll match those results. But in Vancouver, our placement rates are in the mid to high 90s. And that's because industry is looking for, like I said, grads who are ready to hit the market. They don't have to do a lot of this technology training. In fact, a lot of the grads will end up training the senior people because they're like, it's new technology and they've been trained on it and they'll be responsible for it. So they can do that. They can hit it running. If they have that good work ethic and that good technical skill, they're very well sought after by industry.
No, I mean, I think that's brilliant. I never even thought of the point actually coming out of school and actually training the people that don't know how to work on the latest whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, even our instructors, like all of our instructors, are industry professionals. So they come in, they work a full-time job, and they come teach a couple courses for us when they have availability. And so that helps us because everyone, again, from a local market rather than. That's one of the reasons we open in Calgary is local students learning from local professionals. But a lot of these instructors, they even talk about that. They're like, I'm showing you guys how to do this because a lot of the people in my team, you're going to be showing them how to do some of this, right? And even those we've had for 5 or 6 years, well, they graduated 5 or 6 or 10 years ago, and you're on the latest software and they're on the previous, so you're going to be helping coach them. So how and we encourage our students to do things like peer tutoring and everything else, because then that's again a career skill that they can learn as they go from tutoring here to tutoring colleagues, and then it's like, oh, I know how to communicate a little bit more that way. So
Oh, great point. I'm talking with Alfie Oliver, the campus director at the Visual College of Art and Design. Their website is vcad.ca. You can just go to the comment section, click on it. It'll take you right to their website. So I know we talked, you touched on it a little bit, saying you get a lot of students coming there because it's not that expensive. But I mean, there's been a lot of cuts, let's call them, from the new government. So how has that really affected the VCAD?
Being a private school, we're not subject to the same budget cuts from the province.
Okay.
We don't receive government funding, so the operation of the school allows us to be a little bit more flexible because we're not going to be kind of waiting to see what the provincial government comes through with. It allows us to be more flexible with, say, how quickly we can change around our curriculum, add more programs, things like that, but also how we offer our programs. So in a traditional school, like when I was at SAIT, we often have 2 to 3 intakes a year, right? You usually do a September intake and a January intake, right? And I hear now from some of my colleagues up there that they're going to start doing a May intake as well. Here our semesters are 12 weeks in length, and we do 4 years. So we call them quarters here. So we have a fall, a winter, spring, and summer. So we do 4 major intakes every year. And that allows students to figure out when is the best time for them to come to school. Some are ready to go right now. They can start next week and they're good to go. Others, they got to make arrangements for children, daycare, make arrangements with work. Maybe they're just moving here to go to school. So having a little bit more flexibility with the offerings and when they can start allows the students to really kind of pick a time that's best for them so they can focus in on studying. So in addition to the 4 main intakes, we also have 4 what we call mid-quarter intakes. And so we have 8 in total per year that we do intakes. And these mid-quarter students are students who are really keen to get started right now, or they've been off school for a little bit and they're like, I want to get back into it, but I don't know if I can manage a full course right away. So mid-quarter starts, they do 2 courses and they come in 6 weeks into a semester. So our students who are starting for our spring group in like April, or at the end of March actually, we have a few of them already starting next week on February 14th for the orientation. They're going to take 2 courses. They're going to kind of get into it. They're like, I don't want to wait. I want to go right now. And so we're like, sure, we'll have our mid-quarter. And so they'll do 6 weeks and they'll kind of take 2 courses and get the ball rolling and start learning. And what that does is it also helps because their final semester, they'll only have 3 or 4 courses left in that semester. And that allows them to really focus in on their portfolios and really get those done and put a lot more detail into that because they only have a condensed workload in that term.
That's pretty neat. I mean, as you said, there's people like, no, I want to go now. You bring them in, get them into the system, and rather than maybe you never know what happens in the 6 weeks when someone might just change their mind and then they might never want to go back to school. So I think that's a really good thing that you guys do.
Yeah, and even with the talking, like we've had a couple students who they come in and they're really on the fence. They're like, I don't know if I can go through this. By starting just with a couple courses and really getting back into the flow of school, by the end of it, they're like, okay, I'm able to do that. My stress has come down a bit. I've gotten into the flow of it. I work with my classmates and my professor. And then by the time they actually hit that first course load in the spring, they'll feel a lot more confident and they tend to succeed a little bit better because they've been able to alleviate that initial fear and that stress of coming back to school. So,
it's excellent. Well, speaking of with people and goals, what about I know VCAD is new to Calgary, so what are your long-term goals here with the school?
Well, we're looking at a few things. First and foremost, we want to keep growing our programs, right? We've got our 5 programs right now. We want to start offering more programs here as well, kind of match our Vancouver school. We're continuously growing. We're going to be opening another campus in Ontario and another one in Quebec as well in the next year or 2 here. So lots of plans for expansion for VCAD. But in Calgary itself, we want to grow our programs. We want to grow our community links. Just really, it's Calgary more than anywhere else I've lived. It's about networking. It's about building that community. And so a community that supports the students and supports that, and a school that supports the industry needs and how the industry needs are changing, allowing us to, again, be more adaptable to meet those needs. It becomes a community. community practice between the students, the community, the industry, the school, right? Everyone becomes part of that. And in Vancouver, it's a very strong community, and we want to build that here where everyone really supports the students and the students support the industry and become a really great worker. So we're building that here, and we're building those partnerships.
No, and that's great. I mean, unfortunately, I mean, you have a great reputation in Vancouver, and obviously able to leverage that here. And from everything I hear, people are just, speaking extremely highly. And some had no idea who you were when I was talking about it, and especially when it comes to here's who's coming on for our kind of education and how they help small businesses. And then people sent me notes saying, hey, I went and checked them out and looked at it, and was like, man, this is a great program that's coming to Calgary. So it's so I think it's kudos to you guys for doing that. That's it's something that's going to benefit our entrepreneurs, our small businesses, and obviously people in Calgary.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, we're really excited, and our students are really excited. And one of the reasons I love education is it's really about the students. When the students get that aha moment, that oh my God, I finally it clicked moment, that makes it all worthwhile in education. And seeing students who come here and they're like, I was planning on going to Vancouver, and now I don't have to move and spend all this money. I can stay at home.
Yeah.
I can stay at home with my parents and still come to school. And for that, they love the fact that we opened this campus here. But even those who come here and they're like, I just got laid off again, and I just want to change everything. And this is an opportunity for them to walk another path in their life and can keep that continuous education, that lifelong learning going. It's a lot of them which really just had this mind-blowing experience where they're like, I've never even tried this before, and I don't know why it took me this long to get here, type thing. So we're really enjoying it.
Well, everybody's path to where they want to be takes a different road, and it doesn't matter what road, where you end up. It's always, sometimes it's just a nice little thing. Sometimes you never know how you're going to get there. But as long as you have people helping you along the way, like yourself and VCAD, I think that's positive.
Yeah, it took me 35 years to find education as my career, and then I was like, oh my God, never doing else for the rest of my life. I love it. I had to admit my wife was right, and I'm doing it live and stuff to everybody. Yes, honey, you were right. I love it. I never want to do anything else. Yeah,
it's out there now.
You figure it out, and it becomes that life's work. And for me, that was education. I'm glad I can put those skills, both my previous life skills and my current education skills here. It's a fantastic opportunity.
Now, talking about those previous life skills, I mean, that last question I always ask is the same. And, you've been on that business owner side, and now you're, on the educating side. So, I mean, I guess if you had one piece of advice for a small business, startup, an entrepreneur, are you able, can you give us something that, kind of molds those, your knowledge together?
Absolutely. I'm going to relate a really quick personal story before I kind of get to my point. When I was really young, my dad worked construction, and every time he comes to visit us, they live in BC, and every time they come to visit, every time we drive by something that he built back before I was born or when I was really young, he still points out, he's like, I built that. And we're like, yeah, Dad, we know. Right. But we always, every time he's been doing it for over 4 years. And it's a point that creating something leaves this tangible legacy behind for you. And so as an entrepreneur, think about kind of what kind of legacy you want to leave behind for yourselves. For a lot of our students, this is why I said being here in Calgary, for them to connect with local industry and create portfolio pieces that are relevant, that they can say, I did that, right? To create, for our architecture students, to create a house or design something that somebody actually uses, or interior designers to create something like that, and graphic design, everything else. Animators to be able to create a cartoon that someone's kids become, or their kids become to love, right? And marketers to be able to say, I created that campaign, that was my campaign. These things create this legacy for you. And as an entrepreneur, we often always get focused in on just paying the bills and making it to the next day and stuff. But it should be more than that. It should be, what is our purpose? What are we trying to get out of this? And if if we're creating something that leaves a legacy behind that says, I made that. That's something. Then 40 years later, you're still badgering your kids, say, "I made that," right? And now my daughter loves it. My daughter's 4.5, and she just every time we drive, she's like, "Grandpa made that." And I'm like, "Oh my God, he brainwashed her." but it's something that creates a legacy beyond his kid to his grandkid to beyond that, and that's what I mean. For entrepreneurs, create something that leaves a lasting legacy for not only you but for those coming after you.
No, I think that out of all the, out of 100 and some episodes I've done, I don't think anybody really talked about legacy before. So that's something that amazes me every time that I ask that question. I get an answer that I've never heard before, and I agree. The legacy thing. I know it happened to me too, right? My grandpa and my dad and my mom, and I mean, it's probably something everybody can relate to, I'm sure, at some point. So I love that. The legacy that you want to leave behind is something that's very important. So, I mean, that's excellent again. So thanks for that.
No problem. Anytime.
And I really appreciate you coming on, Alfie, sharing your knowledge, your story. I mean, obviously, anybody want to find more information about the Visual College of Art and Design, you can just go to the comment section, click on the website. They'll be there. If you do have any questions, feel free to post them. We will answer them. And again, thank you to Evolutionize, Alberta's mobile optometry clinic, for sponsoring this. Their website is also in there, and is peer guidance as well. So again, Alfie, I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule and sharing your knowledge with us.
Great. Thanks for having me again, and really appreciate it. And again, anytime anyone wants to come down for a tour, please reach out.
Perfect. Excellent. Thanks again, everybody, and we'll see you next week. Alfie, have yourself a great day, and we'll chat soon.